tonight because Nick Bosa is your AP Defensive Player of the Year. I don't know if you saw that. That was big news today. He wins the Defensive Player of the Year award. He receives 46 of the 50 first place votes. And Bosa takes home the hardware Thursday night as Micah Parsons was the odds-on favorite for much of the year. He did not receive a single first place vote. The other players who did were the Chiefs monster tackle Chris Jones and Eagles pass rusher Hassan Reddick. They garnered 2 votes each, but Bosa had a short speech, short and sweet. It's a team sport. I just do my job. I mean, it's just incredible. But what a season he had, Vish. He led the NFL, 18 and a half sacks, 2 more than Reddick and Myles Garrett. He also had the most quarterback hits with 48. He had 19 tackles for loss. That was second in the NFL. And, I think everybody kind of thought he was going to win the award, and sure enough, he did. What about Nick Bosa to you stood out about his season this year?
The consistency. He was from week 1 to week 18, really, he played well. I would say he really had one bad game, I thought, throughout the season, and that was the Chiefs game. That was the one game that he didn't play that well. And I thought he got thrown off a little bit because if you remember early in the game, he had those I think it was 3 neutral zone infraction penalties called on him early. And it felt like that kind of just threw him off because he was conscious about that the entire game. But besides that, he was fantastic every game of the season. He played the run really well. He obviously rushed the passer very effectively. He was clutch, a lot of timely sacks, a lot of timely pressures that created turnovers. And so, yeah, ultimately, if I had to sum up his season into a few words, or if I had to use one word to sum up his season, I would say consistency for sure.
The thing to me that stood out about his season, just watching him every single snap, is how many times you think of him as an awesome edge rusher with moves and leverage. But when you watch him every down, this guy bull rushes way, way more than you would think. And he does it so effectively for a guy who also has speed and moves. I mean, I don't know that I've ever seen a guy who can get the edge and has great hand usage and all kinds. I mean, there is no wasted motion. But then he also reminds me a lot of Charles Haley in that he will go stripe on a stripe, bull rush you, and his bull rush has tremendous strength, but it's the number of times in the game that he'll bull rush that tackle. And it's almost kind of like body shots, I think, for a boxer. And it's the guy's something special, man. He's really something special. And the other thing is, it's like he's really, really good against the run. I thought, I mean, if you run towards him, he takes it very personally. And I love the way he plays the run.
Yeah, he's exceptionally powerful. I remember Robert Saleh said he's the strongest one of the strongest defensive ends in the NFL, I think when he was a rookie or in his second year. So that, pays the utmost compliment to his strength. I would say, just like you said, it's the bull rush, right? But he has everything to his game, right? He has the ability to beat you with speed and bend around the edge. He's so flexible and he's so nimble and bending around the edge for such a big guy. And he gets so low to the ground when he does it. He can beat you with his bull rush. He usually bull rushes early in the game because you can see him testing the tackle strength to see if he could just go straight through him. And if he can, it's game over, because if you're nervous about his bull rush, it opens up everything else in his game. He's got an inside move. He's got that double-handed scissor swipe that, the Bosa brothers have made famous. And then he also added a spin move. We haven't seen that spin move his first. I don't remember if he had the spin move, to be honest, in 2021. I'm having a little trouble remembering that. But I know that he's added that spin move kind of recently. His brothers had it for a couple of years, but he didn't have it in his first 2 years for sure. And so him adding that, to me, makes him that much better, that much more complete. And you're absolutely right. The way he plays the run is phenomenal. He's really strong at the point of attack. He's very disciplined. And then the other thing, I think, while we're talking about the run, is how much of a team pass rusher he is. Rarely do you see him rushing outside of his lane or, doing something kind of crazy to pad his stats or get a sack. He rushes with great lane integrity, and he does a really, really good job rushing to the game plan. And like, for example, I thought the Eagles game was a great example of how he kept his level even with Jalen Hurts, and he didn't go past Hurts to ensure that he couldn't step through him. And those are things that I think are resounding, because not only is he this amazing, talented football player, he does the little details for the team, the little sacrifices as well. And I think that's what makes him, one of those once in a generation kind of franchise defensive players, right? There's very few of them in the NFL, and he's one of them.
It's funny. Sometimes you think about what's the greatest thing you can say about NFL players, and we saw it with Rice, and I think we see it now with Bosa. The greatest of greats draw a boatload of penalties against
Mm-hmm.
the guys who are trying to defend them or go against them. In this case, block Nick Bosa, draw a ton of penalties. And that really speaks to how great a player is. If you can make a guy, hold you, it's almost like he's basically saying, I can't block you, so I'm just going to hold you. Or, Jerry, I can't cover you, so I'm just going to grab you and hold on. Jerry drew a ton of penalties. Bosa draws a ton of penalties. That really stands out. Another